Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so we've got this pile of analysis in front of us covering the latest Premier League whirlwind. Some pretty wild results in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Exhilarating, sometimes baffling, like the sources say.
Exactly. So our job today, really, is to cut through it all for you. Give you the shortcut to what actually mattered, the key shifts, the drama, the moments that, really change things.
That's the plan. And we're not just looking at scores, are we? We're digging into the why. Why did these results happen? From the big clashes right down to the scraps at the bottom.
Yeah, the tactical side. And look, the first thing jumping out from these sources is just, well, it's the Premier League, isn't it? Unpredictable.
Yeah.
Pure entertainment.
Titans clashing, sure, but underdogs really having a go. Lots of twists.
And it wasn't just random, was it? The analysis points to some really specific, almost surgical moments.
That's the key theme, I think. Situational effectiveness. It wasn't about just being generally good. It was about finding that weakness, that moment, and exploiting it. That's what made the difference this week.
Right. Let's start at the sharp end then. The results shaking up the title race, the European spots. First up, the Merseyside derby, Liverpool getting that 2-1 win against Everton.
Yep. Crucial 3 points. The sources flag it as, hallmark of a champion contending side, winning when you're not at your best.
Is that fair, though? I mean, was the performance really that convincing, or is it just the result talking?
Well, that's what's interesting. The analysis suggests it is fair, but not because they played brilliantly. They were definitely below par, actually. Everton did well disrupting their usual patterns out wide, forced them central. But Liverpool adapted. The sources point to set-piece quality, aggressive subs that added more directness, more verticality. They found a different way to win. That's the champion bit, maybe, adapting.
Okay, fair enough. Changing the how to get the what. Makes sense. Now let's pivot. Manchester United beating Chelsea 2-1. Clash of Titans, European implications.
Yeah, billed as that. And United apparently delivered individual brilliance and collective effort.
That's the line, yeah. But reading between the lines in these reports, was it all United brilliance, or did Chelsea just fluff their lines? Because the stats, the XG figures mentioned, seem to favor Chelsea.
That's the debate, isn't it? And the sources kind of lean into both sides, actually. Yes, United's collective effort was good, particularly those pressing triggers, forcing turnovers high up.
Right.
But the real insight, I think, is how they specifically targeted Chelsea's high line. Those direct balls, often out wide, creating 1v1s. It bypassed Chelsea's midfield press entirely. It wasn't always pretty, but tactically very effective.
Ruthless, you could say.
Ruthless execution of a specific plan. Got it. Okay, now for the really big one at the top. Arsenal holding Manchester City to a 1-1 draw. Called a tactical masterclass in some places. Suggests real growth from Arsenal, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Massive growth. Think back to previous games. City often just pulled them apart with movement, rotation. This time, Arsenal were incredibly disciplined, structural.
How so? Was it just deep defending?
Not just deep. It was like a hybrid, low block, sometimes mid-block others, really shutting down those half spaces City love. So City had the ball. Yeah, loads of it, like they always do.
Yes.
But they just couldn't find a way through centrally. That Arsenal structure was just solid, resilient.
So the goal City scored, it wasn't about the structure failing then. More an individual thing or a moment of pressure.
Exactly. And that's why the draw feels so significant for Arsenal. They proved they can frustrate the champions strategically. They went toe-to-toe with planning, not just, hoping for the best. Keeps the title race wide open, doesn't it?
It really does. Validates them as proper contenders.
Yeah, and that resilience you see at the top, it makes you think about how tactical setups play out further down, where maybe the resources aren't quite the same.
Good point. Let's shift there. Matches that really highlighted different ways of playing, different philosophies, teams disrupting the expected narratives.
Right, because this is where you see the league's depth. It's not just about money, it's about having a clear idea and executing it well. Like, Wolves losing 1-3 to Leeds.
Yeah, Wolves known for being solid, organized, hitting on the break.
Exactly, and Leeds just, they overwhelmed them, didn't they? That high-octane press.
Relentless is the word used.
And it was more than just energy. It was tactically very specific. The sources note Leeds were pushing like 3 players right onto the Wolves' backline and defensive mid. Super aggressive. High risk.
But it paid off.
Spectacularly. Forced those quick turnovers up in Wolves' half. Wolves couldn't find their counterattack rhythm at all. Just completely neutralized systematic disruption.
Fascinating. And then you contrast that, like you said, with West Ham losing 1-2 to Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
That felt like disruption through Well, the opposite approach almost, defensive solidity winning out.
Spot on. Brilliant comparison. Leeds used intensity. Palace used organization. A really disciplined low block from Palace.
Soaking it up.
Exactly. Exceptional defensive shape, especially shielding the defense, and then bang, clinical counters. West Ham just couldn't break them down. Got predictable, lots of crosses that Palace just dealt with.
Yeah, you could see the frustration.
Yeah.
Shows attacking intent isn't everything if you can't unlock the door, right?
Precisely. No game's a given. Palace proved that.
Okay, one more in this section. Brighton and Tottenham, that 2-2 draw. A roller coaster, apparently. Both like to play progressive stuff.
Yeah, and the game reflected the risks in their styles, didn't it? Brighton were great on the ball, intricate passing, created loads, but
vulnerable when they lose it.
Exactly. That susceptibility in transition, especially to quick, direct passes, it's still there.
And Spurs had similar issues. Good going forward, but leaky. The sources mentioned conceding quickly after scoring.
Yeah, same problem, different shirt. Showed real attacking quality, Tottenham did, but those goals they let in point to weaknesses when they lose the ball, especially with fullbacks bombing on, end-to-end. Great for us watch. But you suspect both managers were tearing their hair out a bit about how easily their midfields got bypassed on the turnover. Needs refinement, that defensive reaction.
Right, let's move down the table now to the survival grind, where, honestly, every single point feels massive. Less about flair, maybe, more about grit, organization, just staying in the fight.
Yeah, and if you think bigger picture, for these clubs, long-term survival is built on that defensive foundation, isn't it? Minimizing mistakes. Look at Burnley in Nottingham Forest drawing 1-1.
Classic survival battlefield to that one.
It really does. Burnley showed that typical grit, but the analysis highlights the midfield screen being really effective. They just denied Forest any space centrally, forced them wide.
And Forest
showed they're getting better at grinding out results away from home. More confidence than maybe earlier in the season. Felt like a draw where both teams were thinking, okay, let's not lose this.
Right, prioritizing solidity. Contrast that with Fulham beating Brentford 3-1. That felt more decisive, more about taking chances.
Yeah, less about pure grit, more about being clinical when it mattered. Fulham didn't dominate, not really, but they punished Brentford's mistakes. Quick strikes.
Any specifics on how?
The sources pinpointed how they exploited Brentford during that recovery phase after Brentford pressed high. A couple of goals came from early crosses, finding space between the center backs just as they were getting back. Killer instinct. You need that down there.
Turning small chances into big goals. Crucial. Okay, what about those tricky away days, like Aston Villa only drawing 1-1 at Sunderland?
Yeah, that really shows a challenge, doesn't it? Even for a team like Villa chasing Europe, Sunderland, fueled by the crowd, showed immense spirit, fought for everything.
That cup-tie atmosphere they mentioned.
Exactly. And Villa, they'll definitely see that as 2 points dropped. Just highlights how tough it is mentally, maintaining standards away against a really motivated side.
Okay, and lastly here, Bournemouth getting a 0 Villa against Newcastle. Cagey stuff.
Very cagey. And Bournemouth will be absolutely delighted with that point, make no mistake, against a strong Newcastle team, keeping a clean sheet.
Huge for them.
Huge. And tactically, it was all about discipline. Bournemouth set up really effectively, looked like a back five often, kept things super narrow, just denied Newcastle's creative players any space to work in between the lines.
And Newcastle couldn't find a way through?
Nope. They're usually so organized themselves, but they just couldn't break down that Bournemouth resistance. It really underlines that sometimes, preventing the opponent from playing is just as vital as your own attacking plan. Especially in that part of the table. #tag outro.
So, wrapping this all up then, what's the big takeaway from this deep dive? It feels like the Premier League is just as intense as ever, top to bottom. And results aren't just about who spent more, are they? It's about specific tactical moments.
Absolutely. That's the synthesis, isn't it? Success came down to situational effectiveness. You look at United taking those specific chances against Chelsea's high line. You look at Palace's disciplined counterattack undoing West Ham. Leeds press completely dismantling Wolves' usual game. The teams that figured out the opponent's specific vulnerability on the day and had the plan to exploit it, they were the ones who won or got crucial points. It's about adapting and executing in the moment.
Which leaves us with a bit of a question going forward, doesn't it? For you listening, maybe something to think about.
Go on.
Well, we've seen how effective high-energy pressing, like Leeds showed, can be, and also how effective that really disciplined, low-block counterattack like Palace's can be. Both methods seem really good at upsetting the bigger, more established teams.
They definitely cause problems.
So the question is, What adjustments do those historically dominant teams need to make? How do they counter both that raw speed and intensity and that super organized deep defense? And how quickly can they adapt their own structures? Because that feels like the next tactical battleground for the rest of the season, right?
Spot on. That's the big strategic puzzle they need to solve. It'll be fascinating to watch how they respond. Thanks for diving in with us today.